Now, JD, I love that you have a personal connection to the story. You're the son of a naval
Yes.
aviator. What did it mean to you to honor not only your father, but the real life heroes behind this movie?
I mean, that's the whole experience. When I read the script for the first time, I found myself crying my way throughout, not just because of how incredible Jesse and Tom's story is on its own, but then also just how much direct overlap there was to things that my dad had told me about his experience. And granted, my dad was 30 years behind Jesse, and maybe there would be no story of my dad without Jesse's first. But even with that time difference, they shared a lot of commonalities. They had a lot of the same experiences. So, it's so rare that you get to like reach into your life so specifically when you are making something, when you are writing or directing something. But to have a tie that was that severe, to have a tie that was that strong, I'll say this: I've never cried more on a movie set than Devotion. So it definitely hit deep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I cried my way through the movie too, so that makes two of us.
Okay, great, great.
And Christina, I just love Daisy. She's my girl. I'm a wife and a mama. Such a great job just capturing the winsomeness and the strength that she has. So, talk a little bit
Thank
about
you.
bringing this character to life and finding this balance that it must have been really hard to do that. And you just did it so incredibly well.
I think in reading the script, there was enough there. And then in having the conversation with JD, realizing his background and his tie to it, talking to Jonathan, reading the book, watching her interviews, but then also for me, the most of it just came in Jesse's letters. And with all of the things that he has going on, it's just the way that he is so attentive of her and his love for her and his care and wanting to be with her every second of the day, while also doing the impossible.
Mhm.
And when you realize their backstory together and their history together and how much they had been through together, to be able to honestly portray this woman, it was very difficult because I'm not a wife, I'm not a mother, this is not 1950, but not wanting to fall into this caricature of her, of what I think
Yeah.
this woman is that's just waiting, for her man to return home. And so probably one of the hardest roles I've ever had to do, but also I had so many blessings of just information and people and access to be able to give the best that I could.
Mhm.
That was the part for me where I'm very. It's still cringy to me to like watch myself, but also I feel like I've given her this very beautiful honor of what I thought this version of Daisy would be.
Oh, you were fantastic. Now, I want to hear
Thank
from both of
you.
you on this one. What do you hope this film means for military families, especially going into the holidays when so many people are alone?
Hmm.
Wow. A couple of things. I mean, one, to just know that their experience is heard, that what they are going through is understood and honored, and I think is an enormous thing. I mean, to see yourself in something is one of the greatest gifts of movies in general, you know. Um, and then I think there's also to just center it on, the relationship between Jesse and Tom and Daisy sort of as this trio. It's that, like, we've got your back,
Mhm.
and I think that they're even if it's hard to find out how to best be there for someone, even if what works for one person doesn't work for another, but at the end of the day, when the work is done, and the nuance is understood, the power of really being an ally for someone, the power of really being there for your own family, for someone else's family when you're called to be, that that knowingness, I think, is such a powerful, at least just selfishly for me, like that's such a powerful takeaway. And I would hope to get to share that with folks who see the film.
I'm gonna jump on to what he said because that was done so beautifully, but also just to feel honored, but also to feel educated in knowing this story and knowing how far this story goes back, and to know someone else's story in the sense that what you are going through is not new. It is not It's not different in the ways that we begin to think when we are isolated and when we are away from family and friends. And so just taking this story, you know, spending the 2 hours and 17 minutes of just laughing and crying and reminiscing and, you know, feeling loved on a little bit.